Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our breathwork and sitting or meditation practice. We are in class number 8, if you can believe it. And so if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome back. I would recommend starting from the beginning from class number 1. And they're labeled that way and they're saved in a playlist, so it's made easier for you to find. Because we start with very basic breathwork techniques, such as how our posture might be helpful, different ways to sit based on what you have going on in your body. And then we build from each class. So we start with very basic breathwork techniques of just like paying attention to the breath and then lengthening that breath and then holding at the top and the bottom. So there's a whole sequence that we go through. And today's breath is pretty advanced, I would say intermediate to advanced breath work. No worries if you're here and you've been following along and you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'll offer modifications. You can just watch and learn and do it when it feels comfortable in your body. I will say that today's breath work is kapalabhati or skull shining breath, also known as breath of fire, with different lineages of practice. And it's a very heating breath. So if you already feel overheated in any way, if you're experiencing hot flashes, for example, not a great breath work techniques to practice. And similarly, if you are on your menstrual cycle, so if you're in the menstruation phase of your cycle, I would recommend that you pass on this breath as well, because the body tends to be at a higher temperature during that time. And also we do a lot of engaging the lower abdominal muscles, and they're usually already working pretty hard during that time. So those are the two recommendations I would say. And also, if you are pregnant and you're doing this practice, please don't practice breath of fire. Just stick to the other techniques. So let's begin. Go ahead and set your space. I'm sitting up in a chair again for this practice. So if you'd like to, you can sit in a chair. Make sure you're sitting to the edge. I'm going to slide myself forward now so that the spine can lengthen and the sit bones are just on the edge of the chair so that your pelvis can tilt forward, just like we did on the mat in earlier practices. Feet are planted firmly on the ground. You can do this sitting on the edge of any piece of furniture, on the edge of your bed. Alternatively, you can be sitting on your mat, on your yoga mat, or on your meditation cushion. So just finding what feels comfortable in your body today and settling in. And begin to connect to your breath. Maybe you close the eyes or gaze downward. And just begin to scan through the body, paying attention. What's here? What's present? And try as best as you can to be aware of these things in a non-judgmental way. So if you're feeling muscle tension in your, let's say your right shoulder blade, you just say tension, or even deeper than that, you can label what the tension feels like: burning, tingling, icy. So using these kinds of words rather than hurt, pain, can feel very different to the nervous system. So just continuing from the crown of the head down through the toes to scan through the body and become aware of sensation. And all the while you are deepening the breath, not forcefully, just organically, by settling into the sit bones, grounding in, and arriving again and again into this moment. And as you continue to lengthen the breath cycles now, see if you can notice a pause, just a natural pause at the very top of the breath. And then following the exhale at the very bottom of the breath. Good, just a couple more cycles like this. And perhaps you bring counting into practice, so inhaling for a count of 5, and then pausing at the top, and exhaling for a count of 5, and pausing at the bottom. And continue this for about 3 cycles. And for today, really allow the belly to expand on the inhale. It will be very helpful if the abdominal muscles are a bit loosened up or stretched out for breath of fire. Good, and keeping that deepened breath that you've cultivated, the calmness settling into the body. Perhaps you blink your eyes open and begin to pay attention to this new technique. So, breath of fire is kind of a forceful exhale out, and then the body will naturally inhale. So, a way that I like to begin learning this practice is by panting like a dog. It will really help get the action, especially in the lower abdominal muscles. So sticking your tongue out, don't worry about looking or feeling silly. And then, and notice when your body naturally wants to inhale. So allow that. Good. Let's try 5 more like that, sticking the tongue out. Good. Take a breather, come back to your natural, lengthened, silky, smooth breath. This breath definitely stirs up energy and alertness in the body. So we can take breathers just to calm the nervous system if it feels a bit rattled. And then let's try 10 rounds. So sticking the tongue out and begin. Good, and exhale. I'm taking a couple of deep, silky, smooth breaths here. Okay, and opening the eyes if you've closed them. We're going to stick the tongue out and pant, and then we're going to work towards closing the mouth and continuing that very same action. So beginning with the tongue out. And now move the tongue in, close the lips, and continue that action. And inhale. Pause at the top. And exhale. And take a few rounds of deep, steady breath. Good, and continue breathing, and I'll just offer a little feedback that this takes some practice to cultivate. It takes some practice to get the muscles of the abdomen to move in this way. So if you feel like if you're doing panting a couple rounds, you lose it, or anytime you close your mouth and you don't have your tongue out, you completely lose it, just come back to the panting and do just a couple of rounds and slowly build day by day. And what's very nice about this breath is that you only need to do a few rounds and you'll feel much more alert. The mind will feel much more clear and you'll feel energized. So it's a very nice breath to do when you need help waking up in the morning. If you're feeling that midday slump, like 3 o'clock, where you tend to reach for maybe sugar or caffeine, give this a try and see if that doesn't lift you up in a way that won't also have you crash an hour or so later. So there's some great benefits to this practice. It's also very good for the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system. So keep working at it, and let's try just one more round. Let's go for 20. Do as many as you can and then just return to your natural breath when it becomes too much, okay? So I'm going to start with my lips closed. You feel free to start with the tongue out and begin. Trying to keep a steady rhythm. Sitting up nice and tall. And whenever you finish, take a deep breath in. Hold at the top. And exhale. And just allow the body to settle. Allow the residue of the practice to seep in deeper. Noticing the quality of the mind, the quality of the body. Just allowing the whole system to settle. Good, and if there's tension, just noticing that tension. Just bringing loving awareness to it. If the mind is racing, just noticing that again, lovingly. As if you're watching the screen of a movie. Your identity isn't wrapped up in it, you're just watching it. And if you're in a chair, feeling and bringing the attention to the feet planted firmly on the ground beneath you. If you're on a mat, just feeling the sit bones and any parts of the legs and the feet that are touching the mat, and grounding into that awareness. Taking a deep breath in and sighing it out. And blinking the eyes open and coming back to your space. So that is breath of fire or kapalabhati or skull shining breath. There are slight variations depending on which lineage you're practicing in. The one that I've been trained in most recommends having an even pace, and the exhale and the inhale are of even length. So it's kind of like a metronome quality to it. And you don't have to go super, super fast to get the effect. So just let your body decide what it's comfortable with. And then slowly, slowly, you can work with changing the pace, changing the length. I would love to hear how this felt for you today. I would love to hear any differences you noticed before and after. If you have any questions or found any challenge points throughout the practice, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. And you can also reach out to me personally. I will leave my contact information in the description below. And if you are enjoying this, I would recommend going back through them and finding your favorites and picking one and sticking with it consistently for 30 days and seeing how it feels for you. Really get a feel for it, create an imprint in the body and the mind, and see what's going to work for you best. So thank you so much for joining me for these practices. I look forward to practicing with you in the future.